Good evening, everybody. This is Marvin Nowhammer again with a video of telling a story about myself. Since I didn't have much to tell no more, I did most of my story in the first video that I've done. I'm just going to go ahead and do a video resume of the jobs that I held in the past, growing up to present time. As a teenager, I started off doing odd and end type jobs. I started off living in Germany in housing, where you'd normally have about six family living in an apartment. For these families, I would go around and every week a different family had to clean and mop the stairwells. So I would ask every family if they wanted me to do it or if they wanted to do it themselves. So most times the families agreed. This way they didn't have to go out and do the chores. So twice a week I would have to sweep, mop, and clean up the stairwells, and would do that every week. And every family would go ahead and pay me like $10 to $20. I forgot what it was. Been a long time ago, many years ago. From there, we moved to no. From there, I had my first job as a summer job working at the post office. At the post office, I did a lot of clerical stuff, a lot of sorting mail, and every day I had to empty out the mail truck, which was quite nerve-wracking and took a lot of work, backbreaking, but nevertheless, I was a teenager making some decent money. From there, I moved to the States, where in the States, my first job was working at Quincy's Family Steakhouse. I started off in the dish room, cleaning, washing all the dishes. From there, I moved to the side cook, where I prepared all the side dishes, um, handled the fryers, so on and so forth. Uh, After the side cook, I went ahead and moved to the grill, where I cooked all the steaks, hamburgers, and everything else that went on the grill. Leaving Quincy's Family Steakhouse, I actually worked a temp job for a while where I bounced around doing numerous jobs from construction to the one that I had the longest was working for Goldenrod, the milk company, delivering milk crates to various stores and schools all around Stewart County and Henry County here in Tennessee. Then I finally joined the military, where I was a medic in the military for 5 years, stationed in Sheikh, Belgium. Once I got out of the military, I stayed in Belgium for a while, and I worked at a dog kennel, taking care of animals day in, day out. Once my wife got stationed in Leavenworth, I left Belgium, went to Leavenworth. My first job there was working corrections, where I worked for the state of Kansas at Lansing Correctional Facility, a maximum security facility. I did that for a year, left there to work at a company called Fire Specialists. I was an office manager for them, working to open my own office in Tennessee, which it didn't go so well. So I left that company and started working for Alamo National Rental Car Company. I started off with them cleaning vehicles until a bus driver position came open that I was initially hired for. They just didn't have no openings at the time. So I agreed that I'd go ahead and park cars and help clean cars until the bus driver position came open. Once it finally became open, I worked there for approximately 5 months or so until until I moved across the street to the Marriott, where I did the same thing. I drove buses around the airport, picking up customers, bringing them back to the hotel. After that, my wife got out of the military and we decided to move back to Tennessee, where I tried to transfer through the Marriott to start working here at Nashville at the Marriott here, which that transfer didn't go through in a timely fashion and I needed to go back out and work. So I decided to go right back into corrections, where I worked for the Tennessee Department of Corrections for 3 years. I worked uh, in a center for when inmates first come into the system. Um, from there, after them 3 years, I had enough corrections. I was burnt out, so I decided to go back to school. During school, I noticed it wasn't really my thing. I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough for college, so I decided to get my CDL. I went to 4 weeks of school, got my CDL, and started driving trucks. Where I started off with Star Transportation. I drove with them for 10 months. The pay was horrible, the hours was long, and there were home time was next to none. So I left Star Transportation and went to Baylor Trucking. I drove for Baylor for I'd say about a close to a year before another position came open that was a dedicated route for me to be home every day with another company. I couldn't even tell you the name no more right now. But anyway, Baylor ended up getting that contract back. So I switched back to Baylor, but with the terms that I would get my own truck. Once going back to Baylor, about a month later, I did purchase my own truck through Baylor. Stayed with the company for about another year or so. And then I switched to a company called Tri-State Expedited. I drove for Tri-State Expedited for 6 years. It was a great company, but it was time for me to come home. I had enough of the road life. So I came to run local loads out of Doral, out of Nashville. So every day I was home, I was running containers, probably the worst equipment in the industry, um, a lot of back-breaking work, and I just couldn't do it no more. So I pretty much ended my trucking career, sold my big rig, and now I'm in full-time school. So that's pretty much the story and the resume of the jobs that I've held in the past. I hope you enjoy. See you in the next video.